Hello, my name is Steve Gearhart and welcome to the Inagi Observer. Thank you very much for stopping by and watching the video. Very happy that you're here. Hopefully you're doing well and you're not suffering from COVID-19, and if you are suffering from COVID-19, I hope you feel better. So I've got two questions for you. First question is, do you like Shakespeare? Second question is, do you like samurai action flicks? If you said yes to either of those or to both of those, then boy do I have a movie for you. It's a retro classic from Akira Kurosawa called Throne of Blood, produced and released in 1957. All right, let's get started. So what is Throne of Blood about, and what is the connection to William Shakespeare? Well, quite frankly, Throne of Blood is very simply the Japanese equivalent of the William Shakespeare play called Macbeth, or also known as the Scottish play. Now, if you enjoy Shakespeare, then you definitely know the Scottish play. There's a reason why I'm saying the Scottish play, and if you don't know why, look it up. It's kind of an interesting little tidbit. But anyway, if you enjoy the Scottish play, then you're definitely going to enjoy Throne of Blood. It's basically set in feudal Japan, the Warring States period, and it basically is the same story as Macbeth, which is this guy who is on his way to power. He's a solid general. He's a well-respected leader, but he's not the king, and he's not even close to it. But because of his duties and because of his actions and because of the way he carries himself, he constantly gets promoted. Well, one time he goes into he gets in Shakespeare's play, the three witches, Boil and Boil Trouble, they tell him his future, and his future is that he will one day be king of Scotland, and that his best friend's son will then be his heir to the throne. So the play, of course, devolves into a power grab. Macbeth decides that he wants the throne for himself or his own family, kills his best friend, tries to kill his entire family, yada yada yada, descent into madness. I'm not going to spoil it for you. Watch the play, read the play, because you really should be reading Shakespeare anyway. Actually, it's really good, and it's worth your time. So this is the Japanese version of it. Like I said, it's going to be set in feudal Japan during the Warring States period, and the story is basically the same. Washizu is basically Macbeth, and his friend Miki is his best friend, and they have just won a major battle, and they're on their way back to Spider Castle. That's the name of the castle that they're going to. And on their way, they come across a yokai. Yokai is a demon, and the yokai foretells the future. And in the movie, it's this great creepy scene that involves piles of bleached bones and rusted armor and a dilapidated shed, and this like really crone yokai kind of singing like this and talks like this. It's really very creepy while spinning a wheel of yarn, and it's just really creepy. It's a really great scene. So he learns, they both learn that Washizu is going to be the Lord of Spider Castle, and that Miki's son is going to become his heir. And of course, just like in the Scottish play, everything goes to crap. So I don't want to give any spoilers away in case you haven't read the play, the Scottish play, or seen this movie. So I'll just kind of leave it at that. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the production and how Shakespeare actually got to Japan. So let's start with that, with the history of Shakespeare in Japan. So in 1868, there was this little thing that happened, and it was called the Meiji Restoration. And the Meiji Restoration did two major things. There's a whole, I can talk like for an hour about the Meiji Restoration, but basically it did, like I said, two things. The first thing was it restored the emperor to an actual productive government posting, meaning he actually is a leader and has a government function, and it has practical leadership over the nation of Japan. Beforehand, for many, many centuries, he was just a spiritual leader, had direct control over the lands that were close to him and his vassals, but as far as the rest of Japan goes, he had no actual political governance over it. So After a series of unfortunate events, which led to the Americans coming to Japan and showing Japan just how backward they were, put that in quotations, there was a rebellion to restore the emperor, who at that time was 16 years old and by the name of Prince Meiji, and they made him emperor after they won the rebellion, defeating the Tokugawa family. And as a result of that, like I said, the emperor had actual practical government powers, and because they wanted to be sovereign and not be told what to do like what the Americans were doing at that moment in time, they decided to start adopting more Western philosophies, technology, industry, tactics, military, all that stuff. And including in all that was Western culture. So naturally that's going to come over. So what also came over to Japan from the Western world? That's right, you guessed right. Shakespeare. You have no idea how long I've had this book. So William Shakespeare came in, and as it turns out, people really enjoyed the plays. Japanese people really enjoyed the plays. There was a tone that struck with them because there was as you know, Shakespeare is pretty universal. So a lot of people were able to identify with what Shakespeare was trying to say in his plays. So they were pretty popular. Popular enough that decades later, after Akira Kurosawa is born and he grows old enough to go to high school, he goes to a military high school where his dad, who's in the Japanese military, teaches. His dad also encourages his students and his sons, including Akira, to study Western literature. So of course Shakespeare is part of Akira Kurosawa's kind of background, that Dostoevsky and a couple others. And so then finally in the 30s, Kurosawa becomes a filmmaker. In the 40s, he becomes a very prominent filmmaker, and he decides that he wants to make the Japanese version of Macbeth, the Scottish play. And the Japanese government won't let him do it. Why? Because it's too Western. Remember, this is in the middle of World War II, so they want everything to be pro-Japanese, invoke the warrior culture, the samurai, the Japanese, no kabuki theater, no Western thought involved. They wanted to be Japanese for Japanese, and they made him do propaganda films, basically. So he was not able to do the Scottish play as a film adaptation. So then finally, in 1947, there's reconstruction of Japan. Japan loses the war. American occupation. Americans, long story short, pretty much control the Japanese film industry. Akira Kurosawa sees his chance in 1947 to say, I can do the Scottish play. I can do Macbeth. So he brings it up in 1947, and he's about to start filming with Toei, and Orson Welles, Rosebud of Rosebud fame, had already done Macbeth, his version of Macbeth, and released it in 1947. So Akira Kurosawa had to wait. 10 years later, 1957, Throne of Blood, the Japanese version and film adaptation of Macbeth, comes to theaters, and it does amazingly well. If you are familiar with Akira Kurosawa's work, then you know that he has a lot of attention to detail. He creates his own sets, he produces his own movies. He's his own self-made man when it comes to his movies. And Throne of Blood is no exception. When you watch the movie, you're going to be like, wow, there's a lot of fog. They must have used a lot of fog machines. Nope. That is real stuff. Except for the enclosed, where you can definitely tell it's an enclosed set. All the outside shots, when there's fog, it is actual fog. The reason for that is because they shot the movie, the exterior scenes, at Mount Fuji itself, at the bottom of the mountain, right where the forest meets the actual mountain. The castle, Spider Castle, which is built, which is there at the bottom of the mountain, is a prop. It is not a real castle. And you look at that and you go, how can that be? It looks like a real castle, and it really, really does. He spared no expense in making this castle look real. So you have a lot of this realism going on. And the production of it was very tight. So the lead character, who is Toshiro Mifune, plays the lead role of Washizu, which is the equivalent of Macbeth. And during the production of Throne of Blood, he typically threw himself into the role. So there's a lot of exaggerated movements. There's a lot. His facial expressions are just like really big and outlandish. Like, he doesn't sleepwalk through it. His eyes are wide, and every move is exaggerated. But it's supposed to be, and it's supposed to convey thoughts, feelings, emotions. He's emoting. And the reason why I bring that up is because the other actors and actresses in the movie do the same thing. Because the way that Akira Kurosawa shot the movie, he did it as a no play, N-O-H. It's a type of Japanese play, has a type of music, has an actual specific orchestra that goes with the show, and it is done in a certain pattern. Oh my God, the sound. If you are a sound engineer, if you're big into audio stuff, you're gonna love this movie. You're just gonna love all the tricks that he did, especially when Washizu's wife, Ajay, is moving around. You hear her dress, and it's really evil sounding. It's just, and it's supposed to be, and it's just brilliant. So anyway, the production is very detailed, very realistic. For example, towards the end in the big battle scene, where he is running along the walls of the castle and arrows are being shot at him. Like, he'll move in one direction and suddenly 50 arrows just right up against the wall. And then it shows a side scene and you see the arrows come in like this, and you see him smacking down the arrows as he's trying to get away. So the arrows look like they're really penetrating the wood. That's because they were. Those were actual archers off camera shooting arrows as Mifune is running around the set. Now, the reason why he's doing the movements that he's doing is because he's signaling, if I can speak, he's giving a signal to the actual archers off camera which direction he's moving in, so they know where to shoot. So that way he doesn't get, an arrow in the eye. Although what happens to his character in the final scenes is pretty cool. If you can tell, I'm very excited about this movie. I really enjoy this movie. I wish at Anymore I had a panel that I did. I was really only able to show the trailer for it and talk a little bit about it, not as much as I am right now. And honestly, I could go on for like an hour on Throne of Blood. So what am I saying to you? You got to see this movie. You just have to. You're going to watch it. You have to. You have to. Sorry, you're going to. You have no choice. You're going to watch this movie. That's how good I think it is. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's been a little while since I watched it. I rewatched it a couple days ago for this video, and I had forgotten how much I loved this movie. And in all due seriousness, you need to watch this movie. You're going to love it. I swear to God, you're going to love it. And if you like this movie and you're not familiar with Shakespeare, use this movie as a gateway. This is good stuff. Okay? This is really, really good stuff. Alright, now that I've thrown some culture at you, that's going to be the end of this video. Thank you so much for coming here to watch this video. If you like this video, please, hit the like button. And if you subscribe to this video, and I would love it if you subscribe to my channel, that would make me so happy, so awesome. Because I want to get more subscribers so that I can get the word out in more directions. And if we get to 250 subscribers, you guys get a roll of digital sushi. And who doesn't like sushi? Of course you love sushi. Of course you want sushi. So let's get those subscribers up there. Let's get those likes happening. And again, please be safe out there. Please be healthy out there. If you do have COVID-19, I hope this video takes away from it a little bit, distracted you from it a little bit. And I really want you to feel better. And I want you guys to be safe. So practice social distancing. Listen to the doctors. I want you to continue watching my videos. I want you around. So please, 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 please listen to the doctors. Not to the Cheeto in charge. So my name is Steve Gearhart. This is the Unagi Observer. Thank you so much. You guys are amazing and awesome, and I love you, and I'll see you next time.